It's been so long. I don't know if I remember my opening. Hello, welcome, Marlene here. Is that it? Hey, here I am. You're used to only seeing my hands. This is me. So happy New Year. Thanks to everybody who watches my channel. Thanks to everybody that supports me on Patreon. Today we're going to be looking at a new contraption that I got for Christmas from my darling husband. He bought me a Silhouette Cameo 3. And so we're going to look at what you can do with this machine and if maybe you should buy one. So on to today's video. First things first, some of you might not even know what a Silhouette Cameo is, so I'm going to read the description. The Silhouette Cameo is an electronic cutting tool for personal use. The Silhouette Cameo is amazingly versatile. It can create intricate projects of all sizes, from small 1/4 inch wide to large 12 inches wide, and has an unlimited cutting length. It can cut paper, cardstock, vinyl, fabric, and other materials. As I mentioned before, I decided to buy my Silhouette from Costco simply because of their warranty and return policy. On the Canadian site, they offer both the Cricut and the Silhouette. However, on the US site, they do not offer the Cricut. Here are the prices in Canadian dollars and US dollars. I decided on the Silhouette, not necessarily for the cost, because there is a big difference. I liked the package. I liked that I was getting all these extra gadgets. I love gadgets, I'll confess, and I liked that I was going to have everything I needed for beginner projects, and that's why I chose that one. And the second reason is I didn't have a so great experience with the Cricut cake back in the day. I did buy one of those, and oh my God, I hated it. And so that's why I made the choice. If you're an avid Cricut lover, please take no offense. I'm sure your Cricut is wonderful. That's why I made the decision. I had obviously requested this machine to facilitate my cookie projects, but I found that really it's opened a whole new window to my creativity. And here are some of the things that you can make. You could make custom clothing. You could make cute t-shirts, logo t-shirts, company aprons. You can do this either by making some vinyl iron-ons, or you can do a stencil that you would then paint with fabric paint. Next, you can make some super cute wall decals. You could do, again, a company wall decal, or you could do just Merry Christmas because it's removable, so you could just decorate your room with these decals. Chalkboards have gotten really popular, but it's really tricky to draw in chalk. So what you can do is you can create vinyl stencils that you stick on the chalkboard, and then you can come in with your chalk markers and fill that in and really do flawless designs on your chalkboard. And now on to cookies. You can obviously create stencils to decorate your cookies. Any pattern that you find, you can kind of tweak and create a stencil to decorate your cookies. You can either do this with your airbrush, a canned spray mist, or with royal icing. Stencils are super popular when it comes to decorating the cookie, but what about your guidelines on your cookie to facilitate production? If you're making several cookies and you want them all to be the same, key is having really good guidelines, and so you can create the template, the stencil, you airbrush the surface of your cookie, and then you can just crank out the decorating. If I can kind of look in my crystal ball and take a guess, this year fonts and like sayings on cookies are going to be very popular. And if you're doing custom sayings and you have to order a custom stencil every time, that gets expensive. You can create your own custom fonts and sayings and messages to put on your cookies, fit to the size of your actual cookie cutter, so then you don't have to go and buy a cookie cutter. So it's really going to make your life easier when it comes to making these types of custom designs. Ah, the paint a cookie, the moneymaker I call it. Every time I see anyone posting these, they sell out. And so imagine if you could use all your cookie cutters. You could just easily create some black outlines that you could then stencil onto the surface of the cookie and be done with it, and not have to constantly be ordering stencils and cookie cutters. Use what you have and make some actual money. I'm going to show you how incredibly easy it is to create a stencil. I drew my rabbit and I really darkened the lines to make sure that the silhouette knew where to recognize the cut lines, dragged it in, and then I blew it up just to be able to see a little bit better. Then I selected the image and I clicked trace, and you'll see these red lines appear, and those red lines are where the blade cuts. And I delete my black drawing, and as I zoom in here, you can actually see what's going to get cut out. On the left, that blue square, that's the mat that you actually hold in your hands. Now you're going to be securing to that the material that you're cutting, either the cardboard or the stencil plastic. You adhere that to a sticky surface. And then this is the actual Silhouette Studio program. Now if you look at the square, that is meant to be exactly that mat. And so it's easy to kind of format. Now if you position, let's say, your paper 3 inches down, well, make sure that you have your cut lines 3 inches down as well. Here I tweaked a design I found online, and as you can see, I formatted it 6 inches by 6 inches, which is the standard. This is a paint a cookie stencil. On the right, that is the cookie stencil. So I'm going to have that cut at the same time. The acetate sheets that I found were 8.5 by 11. So on my sheet, I have enough for my 6 by 6 icing stencil, and then I have enough to create my cookie stencil, which I'm going to hand cut with an X-Acto knife. There is a learning curve to stencil design. As you can see here, there's kind of white sections in between my red lines. Let's look at the end of the rabbit's ear, for example. Well, if I didn't have that little white section, that whole area would be one big opening and just more flimsy. By adding these little white sections, that kind of makes the stencil more structurally sound, so that when you pick it up, there's not all kinds of pieces flopping and less chances as you pass with the spatula to fold it, rip it, or to not have a good transfer. Here's our cookie, and here is the stencil. Now, very important, you cannot airbrush this. If you airbrush these lines, you're going to find yourself with a mess, because as soon as you add water to paint, well, you'll be activating the black, and you're going to have black everywhere. So you just want to use icing, since that's going to dry. I've seen some people actually use chocolate, which is an interesting idea, but I find chocolate, for me, a little tricky to use. So I'm adding my icing right here on my spatula, and I'm making sure I'm like really on the cookie. And adding, here, let's add the icing here. Once it's kind of in position, it's not going to move too much. There, the final bit. And we're going to lift it off. And pretty cute, if I say so myself. It's my first paint a cookie stencil that I've ever made. And here is the little set. Isn't it cute with the little paintbrush in the palette there? It looks very professional. If you have maybe a company stamp or sticker, you could put it right there and kind of get some promotional stuff going. Or in the back here, you could put a company sticker so that people know how to find you and order more if they receive this. And here is the cookie. This is royal icing. It dries, and when you put water on it, it doesn't go on the white. If you were to airbrush these lines, as soon as you wet them, you're going to find yourself with black everywhere. Same goes for a marker. Markers react the same way, so I'd stay away from that. Now the palette, as you can see here, we have our pretty purple and green. We only needed to use 3 of the colors to create 5. And as far as what to use to make your colors, I use airbrush first of all, because it's just so easy to get on. And also it dries, it completely dries, whereas the gel always kind of remains tacky. There's always like a moisture left there, and I just prefer it. The finish, it just looks so much more professional. You can paint airbrush color on. If you don't have an airbrush unit, you can just kind of like dip your brush and add your colors. Just because you don't have an airbrush gun doesn't mean you can't buy airbrush colors. Now we're gonna paint our cookie. I always recommend having a paper towel. It just makes life a bit easier if you have anything on your brush. And now I'm wetting the green, activating the color, and then I can come in on the leaf here and paint. And you can see the water is not doing anything to the outlines, you see? They're remaining very black. And now over here. So when you create your stencil, you want to have areas to paint. Like for example, the stem on the flower, well, obviously you can't paint that. It's just a line. So you want areas that you can fill with color. Now these paint palettes are quite small, so you're not going to have a lot of paint. You might want to include 2 in the case of when you have like a larger cookie. Like this is a pretty big cookie there. And let's do the obvious pink in the bunny's ears here. And you kind of want to wash your paintbrush in between colors too in the water. You just kind of dip it in the water and dab on your paper towel. And let's color the little bucket. And I think one of the things I've noticed, it's kind of like a marketing lapse, is I see this always marketed to children. I mean, for me, this is like a baby shower activity, a bridal shower activity. Not all wedding showers, you know, are in Las Vegas. Some people are very conservative. They like to have just like a tea. And this would be perfect for these types of clients. Mind you, for the more risque, you could make some man parts to paint. That could be funny. So I'm just, I think, going to add some pink to the little bow here. And like I say, because it's a small palette and this is a big cookie, I'm kind of running low on color. You can blend your colors too. Here I'm just going to put a bit of purple in the center of my bow. And my last that I haven't used, I'm going to just kind of do a little bit on the petals of my daisies here. I'm leaving the rabbit white. I'm not going to make him some weird color. Just like that. And that's it. Oh no, I forgot. Right here, there. And now the cookie is done. You can kind of let it dry, or some like to eat it right away. So, did I pique your interest with this machine? Are you on the Costco website? My apologies in advance that I'm making you spend this money. But with Costco, if you don't like it, you can return it and get your money back. So that's always amazing. So if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future uploads. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.